Sangula Vanaka, good morning and warm welcome. And I want to welcome our local boards who are here, our partners in the various organisations that are here, and of course councillors and Independent Māori Statutory Board members and our staff. So warm welcome to the meeting. I've got apologies from Deputy Mayor Bill Cashmore, who's overseas on council business, Councillor Casey, who's still recuperating, and Councillor Fletcher for lateness and early departure. She's got an ill grandchild. And Councillor Sayers for absence and Councillor Quacks for early departure. And I think Councillor Cooper, early departure on business for you too. So I'm happy to move all those. Second. And Councillor Darby will second. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Any declarations of interest on any of these items? Nope. If anything...
Madam Chair, on the item for the disposal of the reserves, I have a relation that owns a property in that street. I don't know whether that constitutes an interest or not, but I put it out there in the open just so that it is in the open.
Oh, it's always good to do. I don't think it gives you a problem, but it's always good to just note those things, so we will note that.
Similarly, Madam Chair, I'm involved in a Court of Appeal case in regards to Section 4 of the Conservation Act, which has relevance to the revocation of the reserves.
Okay. Kia ora, Member Brown, we'll note that. So, and if anything comes up, Councillor Stewart.
And just on the how it's a historical village,
yep.
Some of my family donated the Sergeant Ford's cottage there for the relocation of it, so I just want that to be... Okay. I don't believe there's a conflict. Yep. But it's just
there's no conflict, but it's good to know.
Yeah. Historical linkage.
A historical linkage. Okay, if anything else comes up, please let us know. I'll move the minutes of the 4th of April. Councillor Philippaina will second. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. No petitions, and we've got our first public input, and I'd like to warmly welcome Rob Mounsey and Kerry Powell from the wonderful historic village in Howick, or the Howick Historic Village, and warm welcome. The next 5
Thank you very much, Penny.
Yours.
I should start now, and Kerry on my left here is our new village manager, who's just arrived. She's a new migrant from the UK with professional museum experience in the UK. So like our new director at the Auckland War Memorial Museum, we're going to be inundated with these museum professionals from overseas. So a warm welcome to her, to our village and to the area. So I'd like to start this morning by making a small presentation to address the review of Auckland's cultural heritage terms of reference. And just a little bit of background about who we are, for those that don't know. The Howick Historical Village is a unique and world-class living museum, and our role is to show early settler life in New Zealand. The collection of 33 authentic historic buildings on 7 acres of Auckland Council Reserve is unique and is regional and national significance. Bell House alongside it is a Category 1 listed building. We have over 15,000 artefacts, including furniture, painting, including a Lindau, vehicles and textiles. The textile collection is one of the best in New Zealand. In a recent letter of support for a grant from Heritage New Zealand, they refer to the village as the Howick Historical Village is a landmark within Auckland and contributes successfully to the community as a wider tourism resource, as a living history museum and a place where visitors can learn about Auckland's colonial past. We have over 20,000 paying visitors and 65,000 attendance visitors a year, and the local people make up 18% of that, within the Auckland region 39%, nationally 10%, and international visitors 33%. That excludes our live days, where most of them come from around Auckland. On a TripAdvisor ranking basis, out of 264 things to do in Auckland, the War Memorial Museum is number 2, Auckland Galleries 12, Motat is 19, New Zealand Maritime Museum 15, Stardome 46, and we are 30. So we're up near the top of these institutions. We run an education program. It's the largest non-government subsidised education program, and we get over 10,000 students a year across the Auckland region and from externally, including overseas. And we also get, over 4 years, we've hosted 260 schools across the region. In terms of the size of our budget, which is not enough, of course, running a museum, we have an annual budget this year of $930,000, with income before grants of about $400,000, a local board grant, which we're very, very grateful for, of $320,000, and they fund essential operations. So just in examples of some of the buildings, this is Puanui. This is the McLaughlin homestead that used to be on Roscommon Road in Wiri, a prominent family home. And at the other end of the scale, an example of Fencible Soldiers' ordinary family home, one that we're actually doing a conservation plan for, and Matthews are doing that for us. And they've described the building is of an outstanding significance within the Auckland region. The cost of that conservation program is $26,000, and as you'll see later on, the considerable cost of the conservation work. In terms of a few highlights, continuing support from schools throughout the region, introduction of a history learning unit with local iwi engagement into local colleges, and that's being trialled at the moment. We've got growth in live day attendances, including a new diversity of new migrants to the Auckland region. We are trying to use technology where we can and where we've got funding. We were fortunate to be an alpha site for the PingX development of the mobile phone app, which allows us to have a curator in the pocket to enhance visitor experience. We've got greater use of the village as a set for TV and movies, and we've got the Brokenwood Mysteries that want to film this year in June. We've got special events. We've a successful haunted houses evening, and just recently a history and high tea that we did for Mother's Day, which will be continuing on. We've got current development of mobile, multi-device friendly websites, and we're going to have Asian language capability on that. On the conservation and maintenance side, we got a $137,000 grant from Foundation North a couple of years ago, and we've completed the restoration of Thomas Eckford's farm homestead, which used to be at Maraetai. That was built in 1850. We've carried out the restoration and weather tightness of projects of the courthouse and the Howick Methodist Church, both around 1850. We've got the local service clubs involved with Adopt a Building programs, and they have completed the painting of the Howick Methodist Church and Johnson's home, and on Rotary Club has adopted White's General Store, and the restoration on that is nearing completion. We've completed a conservation plan for a Mayor Gallagher cottage, or just about to, cost of $27,000. We managed to get a grant from the Gallagher Family Trust, with their descendants being obviously a family line back to the original residents within the building, which we were grateful for, and we're now applying for a grant for the conservation work to Foundation North, and the cost of that, not insignificant, $180,000. We've got a conservation plan for the exterior of Sergeant Ford's cottage, and that's was worked on by a conservative with us on a pro bono basis, and we've got a grant application into lotteries for $60,000 to complete that work. This is an example of some...
Doing a time check, Rob.
Yep.
That is your 5 minutes. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that we're not going to run too
Okay, we're
over
going to flick
time.
through the pictures, right, and the other highlights.
Yep.
And
And then 5 minutes for Kerry as well. So
no,
is this
just I'll be
combined?
just doing the speaking. So
You are wonderful, and
Yes.
that's fine. We'd love to see the pictures.
okay, let's go back to the pictures. Yeah, this is just some of the the children on live days with pioneer toys, buggies going through the village. Volunteers are a critical part of our organisation, and I'll just leave you to read that. In terms of the Auckland Cultural Heritage Sector Review, we applaud the establishment of the review. We believe the current approach to heritage, cultural heritage across the Auckland in terms of being a silo approach is not the best outcome for the region. And I'll leave the rest of it. This was a finding of the Tim Walker report, of course, but there's been no significant step forward to improve that situation. We think that Auckland's early settler history contains some wonderful and colourful stories, which, if told in the right environment and in a manner which engages the visitor, would attract heritage tourists, not only locally but internationally, and our new diverse migrants. And we are the logical site within the Auckland region to tell these stories. There is a willingness to collaborate within the sector, and we've started that process. With Auckland War Memorial Museum, we had an exchange of education teams and shared learning, and we're in the process now of working with Michael and his team to have a fuller and more comprehensive display of themed fashion through the ages for our exhibition and live day events in September. I'm going to put forward an idea here in terms of the outcome of the review. A better structure with some appropriate funding in which museum professionals across the region could determine priorities for operational or capital initiatives could be, I think, a definite step forward. So pull some of the money out and make it available to the whole sector. The conclusions: we make a significant contribution to the heritage sector. We have collections which are of regional and national significance with limited marketing resources, 1.25 full-time employee equivalents. We do a great job of attracting visitors. If we had more resource, we could attract more. With extremely limited resources, we're taking care of the collections as best we can. We know we're below sector standards. With the appointment of Kerry, who has significant audience development experience, we're embarking on a program to realise the full potential of the museum. With limited ability to increase the local board operational grant, we're going to be going out to charitable trusts to fund this development and expansion. So in conclusion, Howick Historical Village respectfully requests the Environment and Community Committee to include it in the terms of reference for the review. We do note that the Howick Historical Village was not included or consulted in the Tim Walker review. And lastly and finally, I would like to invite all of the councillors here who have not been, and even those who have, to come to the village and experience the wonderful site that we have, and we won't even charge you an entrance fee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. We'd have to declare that, so it's always easier to pay, in my experience. We've probably got time for one or two questions, acknowledging that we are going to be discussing this at length. Councillor Quacks.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Rob, Kerry, thank you very much for that presentation. I would actually, I have got a standing invitation for Councillor Lee to join me for a cup of coffee out there, and I hope that I'd like to invite any other councillor. Sharon and I will invite you and buy you a cup of coffee at the very good cafe next to that is part of the historic village, and and we'll pay for the coffee. So not only will the village not charge you, Councillor Stewart and I, out of our own pockets, not out of the ratepayers' pockets, will pay for a cup of coffee. So anybody who wants to take advantage of that, I've already got 2 bookings. I've taken the bookings. 3 bookings.
Yep.
Any advance on 3 bookings?
I'll come here.
4 bookings.
Hang on, there's a little bit of
5.
bribery involved.
All
And
right.
yes, we hear you, Councillor
We will
Quacks.
make a special visit out to
The invitation, I'm sure, will be picked up. Thank you. We'll debate the coffee later. Councillor Clough.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Rob. I noticed your last point there, how you're asking to be included in the review. it's quite clear that the scope of this review is only focused on a small list of institutions, but there is a clause here that says, but recognises an ecosystem of smaller and related organisations for which the review may have implications. I mean, I'm certainly a strong advocate that this should go wider and should include all of our galleries and all of our institutions like that. So you obviously have a strong view on that as well.
Yes, we would like to be included. I think when we talk about regional scale, it's about more regional significance. And I think my suggestion is that at least if we're not part of the core, because I know that there's some complexity to unravelling some of the legislation surrounding the various institutions, and we appreciate that we're not necessarily need to be part of that because our structure is fairly simple. But we would like to definitely be included in the wider discussion about heritage and culture and the way to maximise and optimise what that can do for the Auckland region. So if that's the...
I think that's well understood, Rob. I'd like to move... Brown.
Tēnā koe, Rob, kōrua ko hoki, Kerry. Miha tū ka koutou mahi kia tātou. Just a comment around the... and as a descendant of the first European settler in Auckland, I absolutely champion that is captured and continued on throughout the region as we are committed with our Māori side. But your comment around the location being a great place to tell the stories, the assumption being like region-wide as opposed to just locally Howick. And I know you've heard this from me before in private, Rob, but will the institution consider a name change? Because with respect to Howick, that's not necessarily inviting for anyone that don't live there. Do you have a comment?
Yes, James. The consideration of a name change is part of the strategic thinking of the village. The issue that we have is that we need to recognise that there is a wider regional interface, but you've also, and the delicate balance is to ensure that you take the volunteers and the people that were involved in the formation of the village originally, that you actually take those along with you. So it's a delicate issue, and we don't want to lose the constituents that we've got now, and at the same time we need to take on board the longer term. And so it's not off the table, but we need to do it and approach it in a delicate manner.
Okay, I'm happy to move, or would you like to move the thanks, Councillor Stewart?
Okay, well, I'd like to move the thanks, if that's okay. But I'd just like to also just remind everybody, during Manukau Council time, the Howick Historical Village had received international recognition for being one of the best live museums, probably not only in New Zealand but in the world. And for some of you that haven't been out there, I recommend that you go there, especially on a live day. You can spend the whole day there. And on the live day, they are mainly local people that are reenacting, and so it's just such a special day. So I'd really encourage you all to go and have a look. And it's once these houses that are being a lot of money being spent have gone. They've gone forever. So I really do hope that we all really get behind and support, because they really do need the support. Thank you.
Okay. And would you like to second Councillor Quacks? Yes. Lovely. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Kerry. I'm sure we'll all see you out there soon. Okay. Thank you so much. And the actual agenda item is fairly close to the beginning, so we've just got a little bit more to do.
We will be staying for the discussion.
Lovely. You're more than welcome. Now,